We are all here today to inform you about a crisis our nation is facing when the MAP 21 expires in September 2014. At that time, the Highway Trust Fund is expected to experience a severe shortfall. What I am telling you today has been put into a Dear Colleague letter that's going out today, signed by the three chairmen that have jurisdiction over highways and transit, and that is Senators Rockefeller and Johnson. And we'll have copies of the letter that are going to all of our colleagues today if you want to have those to refer to. As the president goes on a jobs tour around the country, I think what I'm about to tell you, and our colleagues here who are out in the field and who do this work will tell you that if we don't do the right thing and get that Highway Trust Fund up and running, we will lose 3 million jobs nationwide. It's a 2 million with the basic highway bill. It's 1 million jobs with the TIFIA program, which, as you know, is a very highly leveraged program that we had a hearing on today in this very room, or yesterday in this very room. So simply put, when you're talking about 3 million jobs and you're talking about the Highway Trust Fund not being able to commit to one new project, you're talking about the economy of our nation being at stake. So today we're here sounding a wake-up call. I don't want to wait till, midnight. I want to get ready for this battle. And it's coming September 2014. That's the date, and that's almost around the corner. We're sounding this wake-up call because if you believe in our nation's economy and our transportation systems and the construction industry, they're all at stake. And so I'm joined by business, transportation, and labor leaders who will tell us why Congress must act. This problem must be addressed by Congress. A strong transportation system is vital to our nation's competitiveness, and it requires maintaining federal investments in our infrastructure. No great country could be a great country without a strong infrastructure. No great country could be a great country if their bridges fail, or their highways fail, or people can't get to work. You've got to move people and you've got to move goods efficiently and safely. Now, we know there's a lot of divisiveness in Washington. Lord knows everyone who's here and has a set of eyes and ears, they can tell. But I know we can work together. We've done it before on infrastructure. We've done it on highways. We've done it on the WRDA bill, which we're hoping to get moving in the House. Roads and bridges are not Democratic bridges or Republican bridges. Same way with highways. And we passed MAP 21 with overwhelming bipartisan support. We had problems then, funding problems then, and we have funding problems now. We have to figure out the way to fill that trust fund so that it can continue its traditions and history of making sure we have a sufficient infrastructure. So with the letter that we're sending out, it's a clarion call to all of our colleagues saying, please pay attention to this, and please be part of the solution. There are many ways to solve this problem, many ways to solve this problem. We can solve it. And so I'm going to turn it over to my friends right now, one at a time, and then I'll be happy to take your questions. The first speaker will be Steve Wright, chairman of the American Road and Transportation Builders Association. Steve is also president and CEO of the Wright Brothers Construction Company in Tennessee. It's a family-run company that has been in business since 1961, and it supports 700 jobs. And I'm very happy to call up Steve at this time. And I'll move this over, Steve. So you don't... Okay.
Thank you, Chairman Boxer, and thank you for your support and your leadership on this important issue. As the chairman said, I'm with Wright Brothers Construction Company. We're a small family-owned business, and we work in 6 southeastern states. Our family business does support about 700 jobs. And since the federal highway investment accounts for roughly 50% of the money spent nationwide on highway and bridge capital investment, if that investment is virtually eliminated in 2015, there's no way that we can continue to support those 700 jobs. I know some of those families I've known for 3 generations. There's many that are 2 generations and several that are 3 generations. I worked with some folks with their grandparents and their grandchildren work for us today, and we're very, very proud of that, and to create kind of a family atmosphere. But with a 50, what will amount to a 50% reduction in the opportunity for work, there's just no way we can continue to support all of those families. I know this will happen because the states where we work don't have the opportunity to just double their investment if the federal program ceases to exist, or for all practical purposes ceases to exist in 2015. This is just it's reaching a crisis stage, and it certainly demonstrates that there has to be some kind of action to solve and stabilize in a long-term manner the Highway Trust Fund. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our next speaker is Tim Waters, the Associated Equipment Dealers. And I should say he's president and CEO of Hoffman Equipment, an 87-year-old family-owned business in New Jersey that employs over 60 workers.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Tim Waters, and I am president and CEO of Hoffman Equipment Company. Our 87-year-old family company sells, rents, and services Case, Doosan, Terex, JCB Grove, and Manitowoc brands of construction equipment from 5 locations in New Jersey and New York. We actually have over 75 employees, and I am also National Vice Chairman of the Associated Equipment Distributors. First, Chairman Boxer, thank you on behalf of the men and women of the construction equipment industry for your outstanding leadership. We appreciate all you're doing to ring alarm bells about the Highway Trust Fund's fiscal crisis. You've all just heard the numbers. If Congress doesn't act quickly, in 2015, we'll lose more than $44 billion in highway and transit funding, which could put more than 3 million jobs at risk. Those are big numbers, and because they're so big, they're also a little abstract. I'm here to provide a little bit of insight about how that shock to the U.S. economy would ripple through my own industry. AED estimates, that's Associated Equipment Distributors, our association, estimates that the federal highway program generates about $2.3 billion a year in equipment market activity. That's equipment sales, rentals, and product support. The road program also supports more than 3,700 jobs at equipment dealerships around the country, all of which are in jeopardy because of the year zero scenario looming in 2015. You can see from the committee's numbers that if the worst happens, New York will lose $3 billion in transportation funding in 2015, and New Jersey will lose close to $1.5 billion. The highway cuts alone would cost equipment distributors in those 2 states more than $160 million in lost market activity and threaten 265 jobs in those states alone. Chairman Boxer, your state of California, equipment dealerships could lose over 355 jobs and $215 million in market activity. For me, those numbers aren't abstract, they're terrifying. The people in the equipment industry whose jobs are at stake aren't faceless and anonymous. They're my employees, my coworkers, my colleagues, and my friends, and they could very well find themselves out of work. As someone who's not from DC, I can tell you candidly, there is enormous frustration and frankly anger outside the Beltway that Congress can't get its act together and do something as simple and important as funding the basic infrastructure that serves as the backbone of our economy. This is not a Democrat or Republican issue. This is a jobs and economy issue. This is a battle for the health of the construction equipment industry and, more broadly, the future of the U.S. economy. Chairman Boxer, thank you again for having me. AED and I are proud to stand with you in this fight, and I promise we're going to be ramping up the pressure on both sides of Capitol Hill to help you get the job done.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So well said.
Thank you.
Just bringing it home. So our next speaker is Ray Popour, Executive Vice President of the National Construction Alliance, a partnership between two leading construction unions, the International Union of Operating Engineers and the United Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners. And Ray's organization represents nearly 1 million workers. That's 1 million families that depend on the Highway Trust Fund.
Thank you, Chairman Boxer, and let me tell you, on behalf of the 1 million members of the operators and carpenters that build our nation's infrastructure, you are our leader, and we appreciate everything that you've done, how you got the last piece of legislation, MAP 21, through. We really appreciate that. You know, President Kennedy said a number of years ago, the time to fix the roof is when the sun is shining, not when it's pouring down rain. September 20th, 2014, it's going to be pouring down rain. Now is the time, and I appreciate Senator Boxer's leadership in this, we've got to do something to fix the Highway Trust Fund. The last time the Highway Trust Fund was running and being addressed properly was 1993. That's the last time we had a change in the funding of our gas tax at that time. I was thinking about that this morning and thinking about my youngest daughter, who was 3 years old in 1993. She's graduated from college, and she's going on to medical school. A lot has happened since 1993. In 1993, I used to have dark curly hair. Not so much anymore. Yeah. Since the Great Recession in December of 2007, construction workers have lost 1.7 million jobs. They haven't come back yet. They haven't come back because our Highway Trust Fund isn't sufficient to fund the needs of our transportation and infrastructure in this country. So right now we have about almost 14% unemployment in the construction trades. People that want to work, people that want to contribute to paying their fair share of taxes. They don't want to be tax eaters, they want jobs. In order to have jobs, we've got to fix this Highway Trust Fund. And Senator Boxer, the National Construction Alliance wants to work with you, making sure we can get the Highway Trust Fund fixed.
Thank you so much. You're looking at people who were part of the last battle we had to get MAP 21 done, and no one thought we could do it, and I still have post-traumatic stress from the experience. But I'm jumping right back in again. I figure this one will wipe away the other post-traumatic stress. But I wanted to say that before I bring up our next speaker, because AASHTO was the most unbelievable partner in helping us. I mean, all these folks were, but I mean it. I know from Bettina, there were calls at midnight on strategy. And this group is really remarkable. So it's a pleasure to bring up Bud Wright, Executive Director of AASHTO, that's the American Association for State Highway and Transportation Officials. And he's going to speak on behalf of state departments of transportation. Bud has served his career in the transportation arena, notably serving as Executive Director of the Federal Highway Administration for a number of years. So this is a man who knows the roads.
Thank you, Chairman Boxer. I really do appreciate it, and thank you for acknowledging our role. But I think, as all of my colleagues have acknowledged, really it's your leadership that got us to where we were able to get with MAP 21, and we very much appreciate that and are ready to follow your leadership again in getting this next critical bill done. The federal program is absolutely critical to the state departments of transportation in carrying out their vital role. I don't think we can overstate the importance of transportation to the United States economy, to the jobs that are created by transportation, and to the quality of life that Americans enjoy every day. Millions of highway construction jobs and jobs induced by highway transportation and public transportation systems are at risk if we allow the Highway Trust Fund to fail at the end of 2014. Most states do not have the cash flow just to pick up the amount of federal funding that would be lost at that point. We would see jobs lost, we would see projects not moving forward that are vital to our highway system and our public transportation systems in this country. Certain states have issued debt backed by federal funding that they could not repay if we did not have a program moving forward in 2015. We need this program. We need to help the American public understand just how important investment in our surface transportation program is and just how vital the federal program is to that investment. What we need is to identify a sustainable, long-term source of revenue for the Highway Trust Fund to move forward and keep this most important program vitally important to all of us every day, moving ahead in a way that will enable us to create jobs and improve the quality of life for all Americans. Again, Chairman, we thank you so much for your leadership, and we are ready to work with you, all of the 52 state departments of transportation.
Thank you, Bud. And our last speaker before we take questions, Rob Victor, the American Society of Civil Engineers. Rob is an engineer who serves on the board of the American Society of Civil Engineers. He's chair of their Committee on America's Infrastructure, which published their recent 2013 infrastructure report card that detailed the poor state of America's infrastructure. Rob.
On behalf of the 145,000 professional civil engineering in our society, thank you for having us today. In March, ASCE, the American Society of Civil Engineers, released the 2013 report card on America's infrastructure, which showed the breadth of America's infrastructure woes. It's updated every 4 years, and this year the cumulative GPA for America's infrastructure was a D+. And specific to the Highway Trust Fund, bridges received a grade of C+, transit a D, and roads a grade of D. Combining these categories leaves an estimated investment need of $1.7 trillion to bring all three of those categories into a state of good repair by 2020. This breaks down into a funding gap of $94 billion annually, based off the assumption that we will maintain current levels of investment, and does not take into account of these massive cuts to our surface transportation program. The $94 billion annual gap will only grow if we do not fix the Highway Trust Fund in the coming year. ASCE believes that the solution to filling this gap must be a combination of dedicated user fees and innovative financing techniques. The growing investment gap has serious effects on our economy and the quality of our life. ASCE's economic studies show that if we continue on our current path of inadequate surface transportation investment, it'll cost the American economy hundreds of thousands of jobs every year, suppress the growth of our GDP by about $900 billion by the year 2020, and not just families like mine that depend on civil engineering income or construction income. The total cost to all families, to the average family in this country, will be about $1,000 a year per household. These losses are a combination of lost income and additional expenses due to the poor condition of our infrastructure. The lesson from our economic studies and from our report card is pretty simple. When we invest, we see results for our families, our businesses, and the American people as a whole. Thank you.